You may call your next witness.
Your Honor, it's going to call Terrence Sibley.
Thank you.
Raise your hand, please. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead and have a seat. Mr. Sibley, once you're seated, you can remove your mask, and then if you'll make sure to keep your voice up and speak into the microphone.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
And then also, we have this point, okay? So this is the button right here. Okay. Look down here. I'm looking. Look right here. See the button?
Good afternoon, sir.
How you doing today?
Good. If you would, please introduce yourself to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury by telling them your full name and then spell your last name for the court reporter, please.
My name is Terrence Sibley, S-I-B-L-E-Y, last name, first name, T-E-R-R-A-N-C-H, Terrence.
And Mr. Sibley, how old are you?
I'm 56.
And are you employed?
Yes, I am.
How are you employed?
I work for Worthy Construction.
You what?
I Worthy Construction,
Okay. And
remodel homes,
all right. Do you work for yourself, an independent contractor?
independent contractor, basically.
Okay. How long have you done that?
Probably for the last 10 years.
Okay. Where were you raised? Where were you born and raised?
I was born on the west side of Akron.
Okay.
Kind of really split time between the north side and the west side. Grew up as a kid on the north side, but then moved to the west side, and from there,
All right. And have you, in your 50, you said 56 years
Yes, sir.
old?
Yes, sir.
In 56 years, have you lived in Akron most of your life?
Well, I left for a little while. I moved to Atlanta for 10 years and Portland, Oregon for 5, and then I came back in early 2000.
Early 2000. Okay. And growing up, did you play lots of sports?
Yeah, that was our thing.
All right. And your father, was he a coach?
Yeah, he, since I was a baby, he was always involved with Pee Wee football. He was commissioner for a long time.
Okay.
Off and on for years, but he was always involved in athletics.
And your family is pretty good at sports, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty good at sports.
You've got a nephew that's playing at Pitt?
I got 2 nephews, one at Liberty and one at Pitt.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, through sports, were you familiar with the Lindell and Greg Lewis?
Oh yeah, very, very familiar.
And so tell us about that connection.
Well, my dad, in the late 60s, early 70s, my dad was real heavily into bringing the young men up into sports. Wherever they needed to go, he traveled, made sure they got to football practice and stuff like that. And Greg was a little younger, so Greg was always traveling with my dad and them back in the days. And then Lindell was always he was older, so he participated more on the coaching side and helping out in that particular area, as I can remember when I was a kid.
All right, and I guess we should clarify, Greg and Lindell, how were they related?
They're brothers.
So it's Greg and Lewis and Lindell Lewis were
Yes,
brothers.
sir. Yes, sir.
And Lindell was the older brother.
Yeah, he was the older brother.
Okay. So, in relation to you, how much difference in age was it?
Oh wow! I watched. I'm 50. Greg would have been 15 years older than me.
All right.
So Lindell had to be at least 20 plus years older than I am.
All right. So you were a little guy.
Yeah, I was a little bitty guy.
And they were playing in sports
yeah.
because your dad was coaching.
Yeah, because my dad was coaching.
And you went along.
Yeah, I went along.
Okay.
I had to go along.
Okay. And eventually you played sports too.
Yeah, I 2 years at St. Vincent St. Mary's and then 2 years at Bookville.
Okay. So through the years after your youth, obviously you moved away. You probably didn't have much contact with the Lindell and Greg.
Well, I used to, whenever I would come back, me and Greg was as I got older, me and Greg was connected a little bit more than Linda was at that time.
All right, at that time.
Yeah.
And so then at some point in time, your father, is he with us still?
No, he passed away in 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
And so at some point when your father passed away, who kind of, was there a void then for you?
Well, yeah, you know, I fell prey to the streets a little bit, off and on drug use type thing. And Lindell used to always used to comfort me. He was there for me a lot. I could go by there, I could sit and talk, you know, and he kind of really talked me off the bridge a little bit. So,
All right.
And I owed him a debt of gratitude as a big brother at that time because, you know, as just somebody, I always like really talking to the older guys, and he really helped me along.
Lindell.
At that period of my life. Yeah.
So Greg seemed to be more of a friend, but Lindell
Yeah,
was more
Greg, Greg was more into construction work, and my brothers, them pouring concrete, and Greg was heavily into that until he retired, but he stayed connected with my brothers and the rest of the family through that particular alley. But once I connected on with Lindell, me and Lindell became real close, and I could always call him, and I could always talk to him and stuff.
All right,
like that.
and so I guess my question was, you and Greg were more friends and work related, and
Yeah.
Lindell was more of a father
Yeah,
figure?
he was more like a mentor to me, pretty
Okay.
much.
And so Greg's construction work, did that help you when you came back
Oh
in
yeah,
getting
yeah,
jobs?
yeah. Oh yeah, oh man, yeah. He used to call me all the time.
Oh.
I used to go help him pour. You know, whenever they had a big pour, I would jump in, move the wheelbarrow around, push the mud around and stuff like that for him.
Okay. And now when you talked about Lindell, and he would talk to you and I guess mentor you, how often would you spend time with him? And before you answer that question, kind of give us a time frame of maybe when that started and how I mean, I'm sure it wasn't exactly the same through the years.
Well, and I probably want to say 2010, 11. I was, struggling a little bit.
All right. Well, okay. Let's jump to that then. Tell us about your struggles.
Well, addiction.
Okay.
It was addiction. The streets, addiction. It's it's just the two went together, and then and Lindell was the type of person, like, if you needed him, he'd be there for you. Whether it was financially, a place to lay your head, somebody just to come talk to, somewhere, even to go eat.
All right.
You know what I mean? So a lot of times, that's how, I would stop by, talk to him, sit on the porch with him for a minute.
All right.
And he helped me out a lot. He did. He really did.
And so that addiction, did that lead to some felony convictions?
Yeah, I got quite a bit of it. Yeah,
All right. Well, tell us, since 2010, tell us about.
Okay, in 2010, I caught a case in 2010. Well, I had quite a few cases, but a lot of probation.
Well, what was the 2010 conviction for? Do you recall?
I'm thinking it was a theft case or something like that, a minor theft case or something like that.
All right.
And I got probation for it. And then my dad got sick in 2000. Well, he got sick in 2008, but in 2010, he needed physical help. So my brother was always living in the house with my dad. And so we needed a second person. So me and my dad didn't see eye to eye for a long time. So he mustered enough energy to call me on the phone, and I moved in and started helping him out physically and stuff like that. So, and then my mom got sick in 2000, but she was sick like from 2005, emphysema. She had that asbestos from Chrysler in her lungs and stuff like that. So. It became a tough period for me, trying to stop getting high, using drugs, and then dealing with my parents in this capacity. The responsibility was different for me. It was new for me, and I struggled off and on. So I kept catching little cases. But then the last case that I had, I really kind of grew up a little bit in the 2010 case, but then I fell back out to addiction when because my mom passed away a week before Mother's Day of 2012. And then my dad passed away like 2 days after Father's Day in 2012. So it was kind of really tough. And then my probation officer, we kind of really didn't see eye to eye at that particular time. And so I kind of went on a 5-year hiatus. You know, and
When you say 5-year hiatus,
yeah.
you went on a 5-year capious.
Capious, I did. I really
You were
did.
a fugitive.
I was a fugitive.
All right. So the court basically said you stopped going to your probation, and
Yeah,
the court
so,
issued
yeah.
a warrant for your arrest for
Issued
5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
Where were you during those 5 years?
Just working, still fighting my addiction. You know, still fighting my addiction, and then and finally in 2015, we ran into each other.
Okay.
So they gave me 15 months. I served 10 of it,
Okay.
and came home to a halfway house in 2017.
All right. And since that time, have you had some additional issues?
Yeah, I had I came home, and you know, old habits is hard to break at sometimes. So I had a prescription. I had ordered some prescription glasses. I went to Lens Crafters.
And Mr. Sibley, let me tell you this. You don't have to go into the details of it.
Okay.
But ultimately, you had an issue.
I had an
And
issue,
you caught a theft.
and I
case.
caught a theft case.
All right.
Yeah.
And you
so-
pled guilty to it.
And I pled guilty to it because I did it. You know what I mean? And so I've been dealing with it. You know, probation is coming up, and it's coming to a close.
All right. So, in 2015, you ultimately said you ended up going to prison.
Yeah, I went to
for
Grafton.
10 of the
10 months.
15-month sentence.
Yeah,
Okay.
10 months down at
Now,
Grafton.
Mr. Sibley, let me just kind of interrupt you for a second. Terry here has to take down what we're saying.
Okay.
So if I start asking a question,
Okay.
you have to wait till I finish.
Okay.
Because if you start talking before I do, she can't take it, both of us down, okay?
Okay.
Others should be mad at me, not you. So. All right. So let's talk about 2015, okay? Before you went to prison, do you remember when you went to prison?
Yeah. March. I was sentenced March 15th, 2016.
16. Okay.
Yeah.
So from March of 2016,
Mhm.
for 10 months, you were in prison.
I was in prison.
And you obviously, we're here because of the fire at 719 Fulls.
Yes, sir.
So you were in prison when that took place.
Yes, sir.
Prior to you going to prison, did you visit Lindell at his home?
Yeah, I at his brother's request. Greg called me for quite a few times. He called me. He needed my services over there at his brother's house. And so I was so busy, I didn't get to him right away. It took me a couple of days. And then I finally called Lindell, and I met and went over to Lindell's house. I don't know, I mean, it's so long ago, I don't remember the exact date or anything like that, but I know it was real close to me getting sentenced, you know, so.
And at some point in 2015, prior to this,
Right.
didn't you do some jail time?
In 2015. I think the only jail time I did was just the sentence that was coming up.
All right.
Yeah.
Were you in jail when Greg was trying to get a hold of you?
You know what? As a matter of fact, I was in the county jail for a couple of days.
Okay.
I remember that. I was in the county jail for a couple of days. No, I wasn't. I wasn't in the county jail at the time. He was calling me, and he kept calling me, and I was working. And then I finally got in touch with him, and then he told me what he needed me to do, and then I went by Lindell's house, and me and Lindell sat and talked, and yeah.
And so what month, if you recall, was it that you would have went to Lindell's house?
I probably want to say February.
All right.
It would have been February.
All right. And when you went to Lindell's house, what was it you were supposed to be doing?
He wanted me to install some security cameras on his house.
Okay. And at that time, had Lindell he had some health problems, correct?
Yeah, he had health issues.
All right. And were you aware of his hip issues?
You know, me and him had talked, and I knew that he was having surgery on his hips coming up.
Okay. It was coming up.
Yeah.
And so, at that point, can you describe his mobility at that point?
He had a walker, one of those walkers that you sit in, and so whenever we moved around the house, he had it with him, and then from the time we went from inside the house to the front porch, you know, so we could talk about where we wanted to install these cameras and stuff. He always, and then he would turn it around and then sit on it. Yeah.
All right. And so you sat with him on the porch.
Yes, sir.
And he went over with you and discussed with you the job that you were supposed to do
Yes.
in installing those cameras.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. During that discussion, was there a point in time where somebody drove by that became of, I guess, interest, so to speak?
He as we were talking, and something disturbed his conversation. We was conversating, and we had a good conversation going on, where we wanted the cameras and all this other stuff, and then a neighbor pulled up, drove down, pulled up into the driveway. His voice got a little low, and he started getting a little jittery, a little nervous, because now I'm gonna go back, because that particular day when I pulled up, it was somebody had knocked his windows out of the house and the windows out of the front door, so they were being repaired at the same time.
All right. So that had happened.
Well, that was taking place at the same time that we were doing what we were doing. So I was kind of really looking at this thing because I didn't know at that particular time the reason why I was installing the cameras, because I install cameras all the time.
All right. And without saying about the conversation, did Lindell tell you why he wanted the cameras?
Yeah, he did.
No, and don't tell us why.
Yeah, he did. He did.
Right.
He
And
did.
so he tells you why.
Right.
And does he talk to you and discuss with you where he wants those cameras and what?
Oh yeah. The focus was just like, you know, all the damage to Lindell's house was always on that right side of the house, that right front corner of the porch, and so he wanted those. He wanted 3 cameras was to be facing that way.
All right. And so did you put those cameras facing?
Yeah, I did exactly what he asked me to do.
All right. And when you said there was a neighbor that drove by and pulled into the driveway, let me ask you, look at the State's Exhibit, forgetting number 12. This is State's Exhibit number 12. Do you recognize this?
Yes, sir.
All right. So if this is Fultz and this is Hillcrest, where would Lindell's house be? And you can use the pointer if you want. Are you using? I can't see.
I'm not pointing because I'm trying to recognize and identify the neighborhood.
Okay, so this is East Avenue?
I know that.
Okay.
East Avenue. The car came from this way, around the corner. So it's somewhere, we were sitting in the house somewhere over here, or Lindell's house.
Okay, 719 Fultz?
Yeah, it's one of these houses right here.
Okay.
And then, like I said, we were sitting on the front porch, and when he looked and he looked over his shoulder, and then his conversation stopped for a while, and he wanted to tell us something, and he started telling us something, but,
All right.
you know what I mean?
And
But I knew it was a problem though, because nobody's windows, and why are you repairing your windows in your door?
All right.
You know, that's
Well,
my question.
so how did you see where the person went?
Because my back was to, Linda was sitting kind of right on this side, and my back was to the banister.
You're pointing at the different houses.
Yeah, my back was to the banister.
Okay.
And then so when he looked, I looked.
All right. And so what did you see?
I saw a gentleman and a younger kid get out of a vehicle.
What kind of vehicle?
Again, at this stage of the game, I can't even really remember.
All right. And where did they go?
Actually, the gentleman stood there for a minute.
Well, he was driving.
Yeah, he was driving, and
Where
then when
did
he
he
got
go?
out, he kind of stood, and
Hold on, Mr. Sibley. Where did he drive to?
he pulled up in the driveway of the house.
What driveway did he pull into?
See, I can hear again, that's so long ago, I can't remember which driveway it was because my emphasis really wasn't on that particular, I was there to do a
Okay.
job for him.
All right. And then, do you, so at that point in time, do you have a conversation with Lindell?
Yeah, I did.
All right.
You know.
During that conversation, I want to know what he said, but what was the conversation about a particular person?
Yeah, he got highly agitated.
Who got highly agitated?
Lindell he got very agitated.
All right.
And he said, you know,
Don't tell us what he said.
All right, okay.
All right. So when you said agitated, describe what that
Tears, and almost tears in his eyes.
All right.
You know, almost, you know, I had to reach over. I distinctly remember today reaching over, touching him on the shoulder.
All right. To install these?
Yes, sir.
And did you guys do that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And let me just ask you about the cameras themselves. Who bought the cameras?
Lindell's son did.
All right. And when you put them up, were they able to work it or function at that
Well,
point?
no, they didn't function at that particular time because the system that he had wasn't compatible with it. So I guess the son took a little longer getting the system, and I was gonna come back and wire everything and put it together. But you know, my time came up, and I had to go turn myself in.
So before his son, was it a TV that he needed, a new TV?
Yeah, he needed a TV that was compatible, a modern day TV.
Okay.
Lindell had an older TV.
And so he needed to buy that, but before he bought that, you ended up going to serve your time.
Yeah, I ended up going to serve my time.
And that would have been in March you did.
Yeah, it had been March 15th.
So tell us, did you ultimately put up those cameras?
Yeah, I installed them.
And how many cameras did you install?
I installed 4.
And where were the 4 cameras?
The 4 cameras was like, okay, on the back, I installed one on the back side of the house facing out. I installed another one by the door facing this way. And then I had a third one right here in this area facing the front door.
All right.
And then I had it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. And it was all facing in that direction right there in this corner over here.
And were any of them facing this house?
Yeah, they was all facing this way right here. Everything was protecting this side of the house over here. Everything was facing that way.
All right. I'm showing you what I've marked as State's Exhibit number 27. Oh, I'm sorry. State's Exhibit number 27. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, that's it in the back side.
Okay, so when you say that's it, what do you mean?
That's one of the cameras I installed in the back.
And could you show us where in that one on here?
On the back side of the house over here.
All right, and so it's facing this
And it's
direction.
facing that direction there.
And then same with State's Exhibit number 28. Do you recognize that?
Yeah, I remember that camera too. Let me see.
Is it the same?
No, this is a different camera. Yeah. Is that? No, that's the same camera there.
This is just a closer
Yeah,
up
just
of
a
this
closer
one.
version of
All
that
right.
camera.
Your Honor, may I publish these?
Mm-hmm.
So this was State's Exhibit number 27. And if you could, I believe that was the camera you said you installed.
Yes, sir.
All right, and then this would be a close-up of that camera.
Yeah, that's a close-up of it.
And we can see that it's facing down the side of the house.
Down the side of the house.
Is that 28?
The second one I'm showing now is 28 inches. And those were put there at the instructions of Lindell.
Yes, sir.
While you were, first of all, how long did it take you guys to put the cameras up?
Probably about an hour and some minutes.
All right, and during that hour period of time, did anything happen during that period?
You know, other than us just, you know, he kind of went in and calmed down a little bit.
He being Lindell?
Lindell did, yeah. He kind of went in and calmed down a little bit.
Okay. And did you ever see the person who got out of the car?
I got a chance to look at. I got a chance to glance. I got a chance to see who it was.
And did you see him again after that? After being on the porch and seeing him, did you see him again?
When I was on the porch.
No.
You talking about when I was on the front porch, or when Lindell was on the front porch?
You and Lindell were on the front porch together.
Right.
You told us that you saw a car come by which had Lindell react.
Right.
You saw that vehicle, you saw the person pull in, get out with the little girl, and then they stared at each other and mumbled.
Yeah. And then somehow, for some odd reason, okay.
After that,
Right.
did you see that person that was in that car or truck again?
Yeah.
When did that happen?
Kind of right there in the middle of the street.
When?
Somewhere in the process of us beginning to get our equipment to install these cameras.
All right. So now you're not with Lindell. You were getting ready to do your job,
Yeah.
and you see this person again.
Yeah, because I don't know if he's just trying to see what we're doing.
So what
You know,
happened?
I just kind of really ignored the whole situation at that point.
So nothing
You know,
happened.
Nothing happened that,
Lindell wasn't there. Nothing
No,
happened.
no, he wasn't there at that one.
All right.
But I do, like I said, I can't, it's so long ago, I can't remember when, I remember they was growling at each other, some other stuff like that in the street or something like that, I don't know.
Well, let's talk about that, Mr. Sibley. You've said that they're riling about each other in the street.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, Lindell was sitting on the front porch, and I don't know if the gentleman was sitting there observing what we were doing or whatever the case may be, but whatever had took place the night before still piqued somebody's interest. It still piqued their interest because, like I said, they was fixing the windows and the doors at the same time that we were moving around, and they were pretty much finishing up. You know what I mean? And then Lindell's son pulled up.
All right. Mr. Sibley, do you recall testifying on a prior occasion?
Yeah.
All right. And do you recall at that prior occasion talking about the vehicle?
Yeah, sustained. Lay the proper foundation.
Mr. Sibley, you indicated when I asked about the vehicle, the type vehicle that this person was driving, you said you can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember to this day.
Is there anything that I could show you that would refresh your recollection as to what the type
I
of
know it
vehicle
was a truck. I know it was a truck of some kind.
Yeah, listen to the question, Mr. Sibley. Answer the question. Is there anything that Mr. Raprenzi could provide you that would refresh your memory?
Yes. Yes, he has a picture of it.
Ask the question, Mr. Raprenzi.
Mr. Sibley, you just indicated something about a truck. What are you telling us?
Again, like I said, that was a long time ago. As far as the details of it, that's a long time ago. I just remember the individual and the child for the most part.
So why did you just say it was a truck?
Well, because I remember it was a bigger vehicle. I know it wasn't a car.
Okay. Mr. Sibley, do you recall Lindell saying anything to this man during the time period that you were at his house putting up the cameras?
I mean, I remember some light grumbling going on between the two.
When was this happening?
Me and Chandler was installing the back cameras. When we was installing the back camera, we kind of really heard something. And this was just before we was unloading the equipment. We was taking the equipment back to the back of the house. We was going to do the back camera first and work our way up. And, we just heard some, Lindell was very agitated again, very agitated. And I just heard some light grumbling. I didn't hear the exact words and nothing like that. But again, I knew Lindell was upset again. I remember. It's just.
And you said you liked grumbling. Who was it like grumbling between?
You could just hear growling.
Mr. Sibley,
it was like a
Mr.
growler.
Mr. Sibley, you said you heard some light grumbling.
Right.
The question is, the grumbling was between Mr. Lindell Lewis and who?
And his neighbor.
All right. The person that you saw drive
The person
by.
that I saw driving up.
And did you hear then Mr. Lindell say anything derogatory toward that person?
Oh yeah, he said it, but
I'm just asking you, did he say something derogatory?
Yes, he did.
And could you tell us what it is he said?
I can't really remember. I know it wasn't nice. He was upset. I know he wasn't nice.
Was it, did he swear at it?
Yeah.
All right, so you finished that job, and you went and you ultimately ended up going to do your prison sentence.
Yes, sir.
During that period of time, you somehow learned while you were in prison. Did you learn while you were in prison that Lindell's house had been was on fire or had caught on fire?
My first stop every morning was to the library, and I used to go read the Akron Journal. And in the process of reading the Akron Journal, that was the headlines on the newspaper. And I kind of had a panic attack. I froze up and I couldn't. I was kind of really mad. I was upset at that.
All right.
Because
so you saw the article. Did it have some photographs in it?
Yeah, I had a photograph of the house and the young lady in Lindell.
And when you said the young lady in it?
Yeah, the young lady that pairs with him in the fire.
All right. And do you know who that was?
I had only met her once. I didn't know her personally.
Okay. Do you remember her name at all?
No, I can't remember her, not at this particular time.
So you're in prison. After you get out of prison, what then do you do?
I was in the halfway house, and the detective, we reached out, the detectives in the case, we reached out to each other in that case. And we talked about it, and we talked about it, and then time went by, and then, the other incident happened.
Talking about the fire in 2017.
Yeah, 2017.
And then what did you do?
I strongly pursued it because it didn't make any sense to me.
And when you say you strongly pursued it, what do you mean?
Well, because
no, not why, when. What did you do?
I think I want to say I sat down with the detectives in the first case a little bit more, and we started talking about, what it was that I knew about the case, or what I felt like I knew about the case.
So you told them about what you remembered from that other incident?
Yeah.
All right.
That was a rough, that was a rough 6-7 months.
All right.
After the incident happened. Being incarcerated and nothing that I could do about it.
Mr. Sibley, I'm going to show you a couple of pictures. First, I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number previously identified as State's Exhibit number 26. Do you recognize that at all?
Yes, I do.
And how do you recognize that?
I just, she used to come by and look at
No, who is it?
I'm not sure what her name is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So how do you know who it is then? Who she is?
Well, because she was always there for him. She used to always make sure that he was okay.
So if you don't know her name, who is she to you?
She would just be a friend, I guess.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is Lindell's.
Lindell's friend. Yeah, that's Lindell's friend.
Okay.
Yeah, that's her.
I'm going to show you State's Exhibit number 15. Do you recognize that?
Oh, yeah, that's my buddy.
And
That's Lindell.
that's Lindell?
That's Lindell.
Okay. Mr. Sibley, the individual that back in 2015 when you were putting up the cameras, the individual that you said was a neighbor of Lindell's, that they had some mumblings and that Lindell had reacted to. Do you see that person in court here today?
Yes, I do.
Could you please point him out and describe what he's wearing?
This gentleman sitting here with the striped shirt on, with the dreadlocks in his hair.
Your Honor, we'd ask that the record reflect that the witness has identified Mr. Ford.
The record will swear.
Thank you, Judge. I have nothing.
Mr. Foreman?
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir.
My name is Joe Gorman. This is Scott Riley. Together we represent Mr. Ford.
Okay.
I'm going to have some questions for you, and much like the prosecutor, I want to make sure you understand the question before you answer it. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
All right. If I ask a question that you don't understand, just kindly ask me to rephrase it or repeat it before you answer it. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You came into this courtroom about 16, 17 months ago or so and sat in that very chair before and were asked questions. You recall that?
Yes, sir.
All right. And the prosecutor asked you some questions and I asked you some questions. Remember that?
Yes,
sir?
I do. Yes, I do.
All right. You see that lady there with the blue mask on that's taking things down?
Yes, sir.
That's the court reporter.
Yes, sir.
She was here then too.
Okay.
And she recorded everything that you said from that witness stand last time, much like she's doing today, okay? Yes, sir?
Yes, sir.
I have a copy of the things that you said that day, okay, with me, provided to me by her. If at any point in time when I'm questioning you, I start talking about what you said back then, and you want to check yourself before answering to see if it helps refresh your memory as to what you said then, okay? If you ask me, I will provide you a copy with this. Is that fair?
That's not a problem.
All right, just let me know, okay? In 2017, this detective here, Troy Looney, met with you. Do you remember doing that?
Yes, sir.
All right, and I believe at the end of that conversation, Tanisha Stewart, Detective Tanisha Stewart, also a female detective, joined that conversation. Do you recall that?
Yeah, I kind of remember that a little
Okay.
bit.
Did you know that they were audio and video recording your statement while you were giving it?
I don't know. Probably they had to have my authorization to do so, right?
No.
Okay.
No, they didn't have to have your authorization. Where did that conversation take place, if you remember? Akron Police Department?
Akron Police Department, somewhere
Okay.
like that.
Okay, probably up in the Detective Bureau?
Probably in the detective bureau.
Okay. So, you talked about your I'm not gonna get into much of it, but you talked about your past as it relates to your own record, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you were honest about that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you had some, I think you talked about some theft charges, correct?
Yes, sir.
And would you agree with me, sir, that those theft charges and those mistakes that you made were probably driven by your own drug addiction?
Probably 100%. Probably.
Okay, that's probably a fair statement, right?
Yeah.
You told the police in 2017, at least you had a goal back then, after you had gotten out of prison, you had a goal of maybe being a drug counselor,
Yes, sir.
okay? But certainly, and you've been forthright, you've acknowledged your own drug addiction over the years, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is that an ongoing thing for you, or is that habit kicked?
I'm okay. I'm okay with myself today.
Okay, good, good. When we were here last, you talked about, even though you were clean and sober at that time, 17 months ago, that you still had your ear to the streets. You remember using that term?
I mean, I don't recall
Okay.
using it, but
What does ear to the streets mean
well, I mean,
to you?
to me, I've nephews and nieces out here.
Okay,
You know what I mean? And I mean, that's what I know. I know that's what I know,
okay,
and I'm good with that.
okay,
I'm good with the people.
Sure.
I'm okay with that.
sure.
Not in a negative way. I'm okay with that.
I didn't suggest it was a negative
okay.
way.
Yeah, I'm
But
okay with that.
you certainly, based on your past experience, can recognize people that are drug addicts, correct?
Not always.
Well, do you recall
Not
testifying?
always. Not always.
All right. Well, you knew that the two gentlemen that lived in the basement at,
Oh, of course.
yes, okay.
100%.
Well, let me finish the question,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
You knew the two people that lived in the basement at Lindell Lewis's house prior to you going to prison. You knew they were drug addicts, correct?
I didn't know them personal. I didn't know them personally. I never met them personally because that section of the house was blocked off. So I didn't know. I knew some people lived in the basement. I didn't know who lived in the basement.
You knew they were drug addicts in the basement, didn't you?
Yeah, I knew that
How did you know that?
because, I mean, I knew a couple of people, like you said, that used to go in and out of the basement. I knew people that used to go in and out of that basement.
So, how did you know the people that lived in that basement were drug addicts?
I didn't know that they lived in the basement. I know they used to frequent the house.
Well, you told us last time that they lived in the basement and they were drug addicts.
Well,
did
I
you
mean,
not?
listen, the one person that I identified don't live in the basement. I never met the gentleman that lived in the basement. The person that they used to come to the house to visit, the gentleman in the basement, she was a female and she used to come visit the gentleman in the basement.
How did you know that?
I mean, I just sitting on the front porch talking to Lindell a lot.
And you saw a lot of traffic going in and
I
out?
only saw one person go in and out of that basement.
You saw one person?
I saw one person. I saw a female person go in and out of that basement. And I knew her past, and I knew of her.
Sir, I'm going to hand you what I believe to be the transcript of your testimony on page 40 from last time. I want you to take a look at it. Is that fair?
It might just be more helpful.
Apologize, Judge. You can start on line 3 and go down. Actually, you could read the whole page.
Okay, so what are you asking me? So what are you asking me with that? I answered everything you just asked me in that.
Well, I'll ask you again, sir. Did
Yes,
you
sir.
not tell this detective in 2017 that the people that were down in that
But I'm
basement...
not telling you
Mr.
nothing.
Sibley.
But I'm not telling you
Mr.
nothing that you
Sibley.
didn't already know.
Mr. Sibley. Terrence, Sibley, look at me. Sir, I'm speaking to you. When there's an objection, you will not answer. Everything he said after the objection is stricken from the record. The jury is ordered to disregard whatever Mr. Sibley was just saying as non-responsive and come to sidebar. Okay, the objection's overruled to the extent that, Mr. Gorman, you may proceed as to what we discussed at sidebar.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Sibley, sorry. But I understand, and everyone's emotions are high in this case, but when I tell you to stop, you need to stop until I rule. All right? Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Gorman.
Mr. Sibley, back 17 months ago, you were asked by me were you pursuing the possibility of becoming a drug counselor when you talked to the police? And you said, yes, sir, yes, sir. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
I further asked you, so you had an interest in that, correct? And you said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I then asked you, can you recognize addiction, correct? And you said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I said, you told the police in May of 2017 that the people that were hanging out at Lindell Lewis's house were drug addicts, correct? And you answered yes, did you not?
I probably did.
Well, do you want to see it again?
No, I don't need to say it again. I probably did say that.
And I said, you know that based on your experience having prior been one. And you said, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I asked you, did you actually witness them do the drugs? And you said, I've seen, you know, one thing about myself, I don't stray far from, even though I clean myself up. You know what I mean? My ears are still close to the street, and I still see what I see, and I know what I know. Do you recall that?
Probably.
Would you like to see it?
No, I don't need to see it again.
So the answer is yes, you said it.
Yes, sir. We should ask the question you want to ask.
Hold on. Don't talk until you're asked the question. If there's anything to clear up, Mr. Lopez, he'll clear it up for you after Mr. Gorman's finished.
I asked, or you were asked by the prosecutor then, and did Lindell ever have other people at the house? And you said, yeah, he had people there. He had a gentleman, I never met him, but I knew he lived in the basement. You recall that?
I just said that.
But then the gentleman in the basement would have other frequent visitors that came a lot, you know. Do you remember that?
We just had this conversation.
I'm just asking you to
But
answer
we
the
just
question.
had this conversation.
Sir, did you say it or didn't
We
you?
just had this conversation.
Mr. Sibley.
Didn't we just have this conversation?
Mr. Sibley, look at me. Mr. Sibley, answer the question.
I'm answering the question.
No,
Yes, yes.
They would come out and sit on the porch, or they would just come in, you know, in and out, and go in the basement and visit the gentleman who lived in the basement. You recall that, sir?
Yes, I do.
And then I asked, or the prosecutor asked, and the people who were there that were visiting the gentleman in the basement, would you describe those people? And your answer was, you know, they was street people. A lot of them was street people. A lot of them used drugs. You know, they need a place to come hang out and stuff like that. You know. You recall that, sir?
Yes, I do remember that. It's a joke.
You told the police about a woman that was going frequently into that basement. You remember telling the police that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And you said she was walking the streets on the west side. You recall telling them that?
Yes, sir.
What does that mean?
She's walking up and down the streets every day. Doing it to this day.
What is she doing walking the streets?
I don't know. I'm not holding hands with her, sir. I don't know what she's doing.
Well,
I have no idea.
well, 17 months ago.
I have no idea.
Mr. Sibley, wait for the question.
17 months ago when you sat in that chair under oath, did you not tell us that she was walking the streets asking people for money?
Yeah, people frequently give her money all the time. Lindell used to give her money.
So you do know what she's doing on the street?
Yeah, but I'm not holding hands with her. I don't know what she's doing. I haven't seen her do anything. I just see her out there every day.
I'm going to talk to you, sir, about not who in the past was your supplier of drugs, but when you purchase drugs and you have an addiction, you have a drug dealer that would sell you the drugs. Is that fair?
Yes, sir.
Anybody who has an addiction on the street has to get their drugs from a source, correct?
Yes, sir.
It would be fair to call that source, those sources, drug dealers, correct?
Of course.
Drug dealers are not in the business, are they, sir, of giving people drugs for free. They sell them to them, don't they?
Of course.
In fact, that goes back to your situation because you got, unfortunately, addicted to those drugs. You needed to do things in order to get money to get those drugs, correct?
Of course.
Drug dealers sometimes will front people drugs and they'll owe them money, correct?
Yes.
In other words, the addict sometimes, if they have a relationship with a drug dealer, they can try and get the drug dealer to give them some up front and then they'll owe them some money, correct?
Yes, sir.
Drug dealers don't take very kindly to not getting repaid. Is that fair?
Probably not.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
You may.
Sir, I appreciate you answering my questions this afternoon. At this point in time, I don't have any further. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Sibley, I want you to bear with me for a minute.
Yeah.
I want you to listen very carefully to my questions. Answer only the question I ask. Understood?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sibley, is it fair to say that you are very angry today?
Yes, sir.
You're acting angry.
Yes.
You have a nephew that played football at Hoban recently. Is that fair?
Yes.
He was recently murdered.
Not, that's the cousin.
Your cousin, his cousin.
My nephew, the father of the one that plays at Liberty University. He was gunned down.
He was just killed
He was
recently.
killed.
And your daughter was just shot 3 times.
She was shot 3 times the very next morning.
So you got a lot going on in your life right now.
Yes, sir.
And is it fair to say that you cared a lot for Mr. Lindell?
Yes, sir.
Or Lindell Lewis?
Yes, I did.
I have nothing further, Judge.
You may step down, Mr. Sibley. Put your mask back on and you can exit through that door. Thank you.
Yep, right.
Judge, can you come quickly aside?
Yeah. quickly. Oh, sorry. Call your next witness
We're going
and
to call dispatcher Brian Frost.
thank you. The next four are law enforcement, so you're permitted to photograph. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Disregard number 1. No audio, no videos. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat. If you'll keep your voice up and speak into the microphone so we can hear your testimony.
Sir, you can take your mask off. Thank you.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Can you please introduce yourself to the jury by stating your first name and spelling your last name for the record, please?
My name's Brian Cresswell Jr. Last name's Cresswell.
Mr. Cresswell, can you tell the jury where it is that you're employed?
I was employed with the City of Akron as a 911 dispatcher.
Okay. Are you currently employed with them?
No,
Okay. And where are you currently employed?
I'm employed with the Regional Emergency Dispatch Center, which is also in Stark County.
Okay. How long were you employed with the Akron Police Department as a dispatcher?
Since 2014,
And you worked from 2014 to what date for the Akron Police Department?
June 21st of 2021,
All right. And now you work with another dispatch center located where?
Stark County.
Okay. And what do your duties entail as a dispatcher?
Taking calls for service from the public and dispatching police and fire services.
And can you briefly describe the process of how you take a 911 call at the dispatch center?
We answer the phone, ascertain the location and nature of the call, put that information into the computer and ship it to dispatch so that they can send the appropriate response.
Okay, so you're a call taker, and then you get the call, and then you send it to a dispatcher.
Correct.
Fair? Okay. All right, Mr. Cresswell, I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th of 2016. Do you recall that date?
Yes.
Were you working in your capacity as a dispatcher for the Akron Police Department on that date?
Yes.
And did you have a chance to, did you have an opportunity to receive some 911 calls regarding a fire located at 719 Fultz Avenue?
Yes.
Okay, and is that located in what city, county, and state, sir?
Akron, Summit County, Ohio.
Do you recall what time you received the call off the top of your head?
It was in the early hours of the morning.
Okay. How many calls did you specifically receive, Mr. Cresswell?
I believe I took 2.
The callers who called 911, can you just describe their demeanor for the jury?
They were obviously stressed out about it. You could hear the excitement and panic in their voice, which indicates to us that the incident is real and occurring and the severity of it.
Based on what, without telling us what they said to you, but based on what they said to you, were they relaying an event that was occurring or it just occurred?
Yes, in progress.
And are your calls recorded?
Yes.
Were these calls recorded?
Yes.
Are they recorded in the regular course of the business activity of the Akron Police Department?
Yes.
Is it the regular course of the Akron Police Department to record 911 calls like this?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll play for you the first 911 call that's going to be marked as State's Exhibit number 29.
Conversation recorded on April 18, 2016 at 3:39 on Channel 8.
Dispatcher Cresswell, that first voice you just heard, it was a female voice, but then this first voice that says Akron Police, do you recognize that voice?
Yes.
Whose voice is that?
Mine.
Okay.
I have a fire on Fultz Avenue. Next to the Alice 2 allotment project. House.
What's the address?
It's poison, man. It's right in front of your
What's the address?
It's, this is 725, it's next door. I can feel a heat, the lights are going out. He's burning quick, man. If somebody's in there, they're dead, man.
Okay,
You
bro.
get up here real quick.
Throw it.
Dispatcher Cresswell, is that your voice again?
Yes.
And you said Akron Police? Okay.
Yes, there's a house on fire off East Avenue.
Okay, no, wait.
Oh, okay.
Now, Dispatcher Cresswell, in that 911 call, you didn't get a lot of information from the caller. Can you tell the jury why?
Typically when there's an incident like this, we're overloaded with 911 calls. So we had already had a lot of pertinent information at that point. Other call takers in the room taking the same calls. We're trying to free up those lines and get them off the phone as quick as possible.
So you can take other calls.
Yes.
Akron Police.
Oh, I got a fire going on 4th Avenue, full in calls. I think there's people in the house.
Okay, throw it away.
Oh my God.
Okay. Dispatcher Cresswell, I'm going to play to you another series of calls that's going to be marked as State's Exhibit number 30.
Conversation recorded on April 18, 2016 at 3:42 on Channel 8.
Are you calling your fire truck on foot?
Yeah, no, wait.
Okay.
Okay, Judge, I don't have any other questions for Dispatcher Cresswell.
No question?
No questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Cresswell, you may step down. Do you, is Ferguson here?
Yes.
Why don't we do that one? 5 minutes witness.
Can we approach while he's getting the witness?
Sure. I'll put the form out there. The form, yes or no?
She's a yes.
Okay. You're fine, David, thank you. All right. Oh, I'm sorry. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Go ahead. Well, I'd say go ahead and have a seat, but you already said. So make sure you speak up on the microphone, keep your voice up so we can hear your testimony.
Ma'am, good afternoon. Can you please state your full name, spell your last name for the record, please?
It's Michelle Ann Ferguson, Ferguson.
And can you tell the jury where you're employed?
City of Akron, Dispatch Center, 911.
And what do you do for them?
I answer phone calls. I'm a dispatcher and a call taker.
How long have you been a dispatcher and a call taker for the City of Akron Police Department?
Almost 8 years.
Okay. And what do your duties entail as a 911 dispatcher?
Answering the phone, helping the citizens, sometimes just asking questions. Then I dispatch, get the calls out, either police, fire, or EMS.
Okay. And I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th of 2016. Do you recall that time frame or that date?
Yes.
Were you working in your capacity as a dispatcher for 911 for the Akron Police Department?
Yes, I was.
And did you take some 911 calls in regards to a fire that was occurring on Fultz Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. And when you received those calls, can you tell the jury about the demeanor of the callers?
Everybody's upset and frantic, you know.
House is on fire, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And were they relaying to you an event that was occurring or had recently occurred?
Yes.
Okay. The call that you took, was it recorded?
Yes.
Kept in the regular course of the business activity of the Akron Police Department?
Yes.
Is it the regular practice of the Akron Police Department to keep calls such as this?
Yes.
Record them as they come in?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to play for you the call at this time.
What's it, Mark?
This is going to be marked State's Exhibit number 31.
Conversation recorded on April 18, 2016 at 3:39 on Channel 6.
Akron 911, the location of your emergency. There's a house on fire up here on 4th Street. What address? Do you know the address or the cross street? I think it's 712. I'm not sure. It's Hillcrest and 4th Street. And I don't think so. Are you in Barberton or are you in Akron? Akron. Oh man. I heard it. I heard it. Akron for 1571 and a half East Avenue. The house is right in the back of me. Oh man, is it going? Better get a hold of the fire department right now. Well, I am the fire department, so I'm just giving you the. Oh man. Okay. Oh, this thing is. I heard a lot of bang, and I looked out and here's this house is going. Okay. It looks like it's bolts right behind you. It's bolts right behind you, the road? Yes. Okay, yes, I'm looking at it right now. Okay, that's where it's at on bolts. Okay, do you know if anybody's in the house or if it's, Oh yeah, the house is full of people. Okay, alright. We got one guy just ran out. Okay, alright, one guy's gonna go get a wheelchair over there. Okay, alright, sir, we'll get him over there right over to him, okay? They're on their way right now. Okay, what's your name?
Okay, Judge, I don't have any other questions.
Norman?
On behalf of the defense, no questions, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Ferguson, thank you. You're excused. Okay. Yeah, you go. Again, thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's 2:25. We have a couple witnesses left for the day, so we're going to go ahead and take our afternoon break. I'll remind you of the admonition, but before I do, I want to explain a couple things. Mr. LaCruzzi's questions of Mr. Sibley regarding what is going on in his life has absolutely no bearing and is irrelevant to any of the testimony about what happened in April of 2016 and his knowledge. The purpose of those questions were to give you insight into his demeanor here today. You use that for whatever reason you use it for in judging his credibility, okay? And so with that, I'll remind you, don't talk about the case amongst yourselves, don't talk about it with anyone else, don't let anyone else talk about it in your presence. If they do, report it to me or Mr. Masich immediately, and then if you'll be back in the jury room at 20 minutes to 3, we'll proceed with the following testimony of additional witnesses.
All rise, please. We don't touch face on any chairs.
I forgot that part. All right, we're adjourned. So if you guys can just, if your next two are here, get their information regarding the media before we adjourn. Thank you. Yeah, so 15. solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Go ahead and have a seat. And then once you're seated, you can remove your mask, and if you keep your voice up and speak into the microphone, please. Thank you.
Sir, can you please state your full name, spell your last name for the record, please?
Officer Joseph Wooden, W-O-O-D-I-N,
Officer Wooden, can you tell the jury where you're employed?
at the Akron Police Department.
What do you do for the Akron Police Department?
At this moment, I'm a traffic officer.
How long are you a police officer?
I am.
How long have you been a police officer?
7 years.
All with the Akron Police Department?
Yes, sir.
Are you a duly appointed peace officer in the state of Ohio?
Yes.
And you said you're assigned to the traffic division of the
Yeah.
Akron Police Department?
Yes.
Have you been assigned to other divisions?
Yes.
What other divisions have you been assigned to?
Just basic patrol.
Okay. Officer Wooden, I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th of 2016. Do you recall that date?
I do.
Were you working in your capacity as a police officer for the Akron Police Department on that date?
Yes, I was.
And were you working with a partner? Were you working with someone?
Yeah, I was working with Officer Aber.
Okay. And on that date, were you wearing a uniform, much like the one you have on, and driving a marked police cruiser?
Yes.
Okay. Officer Wooden, did you have a chance to respond to a fire call on Fultz Avenue in the city of Akron on that date?
Yes.
Okay. And can you tell the jury what the address was that you were responding to?
That was 719 Fultz.
And that's located in what city, county, and state?
City of Akron, County of Summit, and State of Ohio.
I'd like to draw your attention to the map. I believe that's next to you. It's marked for identification purposes. And State's Exhibit number 12. You recognize this map.
Yes.
Tell the jury what this shows.
This shows a street coming off east, which is Fultz, and it shows the incident location of the fire that night.
Officer Wooden, when you responded to that scene, can you tell the jury what it was that you saw when you got to that location?
When we pulled up, AFD was already setting up hoses and all that, and the front of the house was completely engulfed in flames.
Can you tell the jury what the first thing you did after you got out of your police cruiser?
Once we saw AFD was already on scene, we started a neighborhood canvass to see if anyone saw anything.
Okay. And did you speak with anyone?
I did.
And who was the first person you spoke with?
Thomas Hughley.
All right. On the document camera next to you, I'm placing a photograph on the document camera. It's marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 24. Officer Wooden, do you recognize that photograph?
Yes.
And can you tell the jury who that is?
Mr. Hughley.
Okay. Where was Mr. Hughley when you spoke with him?
He walked over to us as we were walking up to the house.
Okay. And as he walked up to you, can you please describe for the jury what his demeanor was?
Mr. Hughley was very frantic, and he was telling us that there are still people stuck inside the house.
Okay. He was talking to you about the fire that was occurring?
Yes.
And he said what to you?
There were still people trapped inside the house.
Did he know who they were?
Yes.
And did he tell you who they were?
I don't recall.
Okay. At that time, in 2016, Officer Wooden, were you wearing what you would call a body camera at that time?
No.
Okay. And tell the jury, what is a body camera?
It's just a BWC, so it's anytime we make citizen contact, so anyone that's on a call for service or we make a traffic stop, we have to activate that to pretty much document our contact with citizens.
When did the Akron Police Department get those body cameras?
I don't recall. It's been
Okay.
a little while.
Has it been, was it after this fire in 2016?
Yes.
Okay, so you did not have one in 2016?
No.
All right. So he was upset about the fire and he told you there were people still inside?
Yes.
After you spoke with Mr. Hughley, Officer Wooden, can you tell the jury what you did next?
We just started knocking on houses. I knocked on 704, 705, and 706, 734 Fultz. Got answers, but no one saw anything of value. I knocked on 1370 and 1374 Hillcrest and got no answer at the door.
Okay, so you see there on State's Exhibit number 12, 1370 Hillcrest is at the corner of Hillcrest and Fultz. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. You said you knocked on that door?
Yes.
And what door did you knock on? Do you remember which side?
I don't recall.
And no one answered.
No answer.
You also knocked on 1374 Hillcrest?
Correct.
Okay. Did anyone answer the door at that time?
No.
Can you describe the daylight? Was it daylight at that time? Was it still dark? What was it like?
It was dark.
Okay. Was the neighborhood lit up though?
Yes.
Why?
With all the fire engines, they normally put like bright spotlights on the house as they work. So there were spotlights lighting up the whole neighborhood and lights from cruisers and also ambulances and fire units.
Could you smell anything?
Yes.
What could you smell?
You could smell just like the burning of, I don't know, I wouldn't say wood, but you could just smell the fire in the air.
Was it, describe the intensity of that smell?
I don't really know how to describe it.
Okay. Was it, could you barely smell it? Could you smell it? Was it really strong?
Oh, it was strong.
Okay. Was this a quiet fire scene or was it loud?
It was loud due to the engines of all the vehicles there on scene running.
After you knocked on those doors, including 1370 and 1374 Hillcrest, what did you do next?
I knocked on 714 Fultz Ave.
Okay. And were you able to figure out who lived there?
Yes.
And who lived there?
Chester Williams.
Chester Williams. Showing you a photograph on that document camera next to you, marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 25. Do you recognize that individual?
I do not.
Okay. So if someone previously had identified this as Chester Williams, you wouldn't have any reason to disagree with that, would you?
Correct.
Okay. Now, Officer Wooden, you knocked on that house at 714 Fultz. Without telling us what he said, did you speak with Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Okay. Did you notice anything on his house?
I did notice a camera on the front of his house.
Okay. Did you notice cameras elsewhere on his house?
I just remember cameras on his house.
Okay. Officer Wooden, I'm showing you 5 documents that are marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 1 through 5. Can you please take a minute to look through these? Let me know when you're finished. Are you finished?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go over these photographs individually, but do you recognize these photographs generally?
I don't recall at that time.
Okay. Well, do you recognize the address on the house?
Yes.
And what's the address?
714.
714 Fultz?
Yes.
Street sign here, it says what?
Fultz Street.
And what location?
Hillcrest Street.
All right. Say it again. I was specifically directing your attention to State's Exhibit 1. Fair?
Yes.
And are these photographs fair and accurate depictions of 714 Fultz as you saw them?
Objection.
On April 18th of 2016?
Sustained. Sustained.
Okay. So you don't recognize these photographs?
I don't.
Okay.
All right.
After you noticed the cameras, what did you do?
While speaking with Mr. Williams, he said we could look at the cameras if we needed to.
Okay. What did you do with that information?
I passed it along to the detectives that were on scene investigating the case.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any other questions. Oh, hold on one second. I'm sorry. Officer Wooden, you indicated that you spoke with Thomas Hughley.
Yes.
Okay. And he was upset about what was happening there at the fire.
Could you rephrase that?
Mr. Hughley, you indicated, was upset because of what he saw there at the fire. That's what you previously testified to.
Yes.
Okay. And what did he tell you about his conversation with the people inside of the house?
Overruled, you may answer.
He was just stating he went around back and he was telling them to jump from the second floor window.
Okay. I don't have any other questions, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Riley?
Judge, we don't have any witnesses for this officer, or any questions for this officer. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Officer Wood, you may step down.
Thank you.
Call your next witness.
We're going to call Officer Aber to the stand.
Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? I do. Go ahead and have a seat. Once you're seated, you may remove your mask, and then if you'll keep your voice up and speak into the microphone, please.
Sir, can you please state your full name, spell your last name for the record, please?
Thomas Aber, A-B-E-R,
And where are you employed?
Akron Police Department.
Sir, could you just move the document camera, if you can move it towards the wall there?
Okay, yeah, it's on the screen. Yep,
Push.
the other way. Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you. You work with the Akron Police Department. What do you do for them?
Currently, I'm a detective at Major Crimes, Midnights.
And how long, to your police officer?
Yes,
How long have you been a police officer?
7 years.
And all with the Akron Police Department?
Yes,
How long have you been a detective?
8 months.
Prior to becoming a detective, what did you do?
I worked uniform patrol.
And Officer Aber, have you been assigned to any other divisions of the Akron Police Department?
No,
I'd like to draw your attention to April 18th of 2016. Do you recall that date?
I do.
And were you working in your capacity as a police officer for the Akron Police Department on that date?
Yes.
Were you working with anyone?
Officer Wooden.
And were you wearing a uniform, much like you have on?
Yes.
Driving a marked police cruiser?
Yes.
Officer Aber, can you tell the jury, did you have a chance to respond to a fire on Fultz Avenue in the city of Akron on that date?
Yes, I did.
And when you arrived there at that scene on Fultz Avenue, tell the jury what you saw.
We pulled up and the house was fully engulfed, and we observed the fire department starting to put water on the house.
Okay. I'm going to direct your attention to that map there. Marked as States Exhibit number 12. Do you see that map?
I do.
Okay. Is that roughly the neighborhood that you responded to?
Yes.
When you arrived on scene and you saw the house was on fire, can you tell the jury what you did?
At that point, I pulled the car next to Fultz and East Avenue to block the traffic, and I observed a male who was moving his vehicle, and I helped him maneuver his vehicle around the fire trucks.
Do you know that male's name?
Nicholas Costa?
Did he tell you where he lived?
Yes, he lived at 725 Fultz.
And can you please point to the jury, you can get up if you need to, and just point to the jury where 725 Fultz is located. Officer Aver, I'm going to show you. Officer Aver, I'm going to show you a series of documents that are marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibits 17, 18, and 19. Can you please take a minute to look at those and let me know when you're finished? Recognize these photographs, sir?
I do.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 17. Just generally tell the jury what this is.
It's a picture of a male, Nicholas Costa.
Who lives on Fultz Avenue.
He lives on Fultz Avenue.
Right. You pointed to a house in this direction. If I told you this was 725 Fultz, would you have a reason to disagree with that?
No.
Okay. So this is where he lived there.
Okay.
Fair? Okay. State's Exhibit number 18 and 19. These photographs. Briefly describe what they show.
Looks like a male in a driveway.
Okay. Does the male in these photographs have hair?
Doesn't look like he does.
I'm sorry, what are those numbers?
Judge, can we approach real quick?
Yeah, can you tell me what those numbers are, please?
17, 18, and 19.
I have other numbers.
Yeah, no, I messed up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Don't you have one?
Yeah.
32, 33, and 34.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Officer Aver, I'm showing you on the document camera there that you turned behind you. A photograph that's been marked for identification purposes as State's Exhibit number 32. This is the photograph of the man that you spoke with,
Yes.
Nicholas Costa.
Yes.
Okay. State's Exhibit number 33, I'm putting on the document camera here. You see this photograph here?
Yes.
This is State's Exhibit number 33. This is the bald individual that you referred to?
Yes.
Okay. Who lived at 725 Fultz?
Correct.
Okay. And then also State's Exhibit number 34. Do you see that individual in that photograph too?
I do.
And is this him there that I'm pointing to?
Yes.
Did you speak with Mr. Costa?
I did.
And when you spoke with him, can you please describe his demeanor to the jury?
He was frantic and upset.
Okay. And was he describing to you an event that had just recently occurred?
Yes.
The fire?
Yes.
Tell the jury what he said.
He said that he was laying in his bed and he saw a bright flash and heard an explosion, and he looked outside and saw the neighbor's house front porch on fire.
What did he do then?
He ran outside the house.
And did what?
Moved his vehicle.
And then that's when you came along?
Correct.
Okay. Judge, I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon.
Is it Aber or Aber?
Aber.
Aber, I apologize. And it's detective now, correct?
Yes.
Back in 2016, it was patrol officer, correct?
Correct.
And you're dressed today like a patrol officer would, correct?
Yes.
Where Detective Looney looks more detectively, so to speak, correct?
Correct.
And when you work now, not required to wear the dress or the working blue uniform. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. But on that day, you had something similar on. Is that also fair?
Yes.
All right. Let me introduce myself. I apologize. I'm Joe Gorman. This is Scott Riley, and together we represent Mr. Ford. So I have a few questions for you, and I would ask you to ask me to rephrase or repeat those questions if you don't understand. Okay?
Okay.
I have a copy of your action taken that you completed back in 2016. Did you only complete one report as it relates to this case?
Yes.
Okay. And we'll talk more about an action taken in a moment, but you had an opportunity, I'm assuming, to review your action taken in preparation for your testimony today. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And if you need to look at it at any point in time before answering any of my questions, let me know and I'll provide it to you. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. So you've gone through the police academy.
Yes.
Yes. And every officer that's certified in the state of Ohio has to do that. Is that fair?
Yes.
How long is the police academy for you? How long was it?
Around 8 months.
Okay. So it's an extensive training to become a police officer. Would you agree?
Yes.
It also doesn't stop there. Once you become a police officers have on-the-job training as well, correct?
Yes.
Continued training, am I right?
Yes.
And then to become a detective, is there additional training?
Yes.
Okay. What does that consist of in general?
Core criminal classes, getting certifications.
Okay. And that's more a patrol officer like you were in 2016 is someone who initially responds to a scene for the most part. Am I right?
Yes.
In a major crime, and you said you're in the major crime unit now, a major crime, a patrol officer might be first on scene, but then the detectives would be called in. Is that fair?
Yes.
When we talk about the detectives, we talk about detectives such as yourself in the major crime unit, right?
Yes.
That handle the robberies, the rapes, the murders, the aggravated burglaries, things of that nature. Is that fair?
Yes.
All right. And then there are other detectives that come that are part of the Akron Police Department, kind of like we see on CSI, but we call it the crime scene unit, correct?
Yes.
And they come in a big truck, usually at a major crime scene. Am I right?
Yes.
And they are taught in how to collect forensic evidence at a crime scene. Is that fair?
Yes.
And those detectives might take things, in the appropriate cases, they might take things like fingerprints from scenes, correct?
Yes.
They might try and collect swabs for DNA analysis, correct?
Yes.
Things of that nature. They do those types of things. They might collect ballistics, or correct?
Yes.
Guns, correct?
Yes.
Bullets, case shells, things like that. They might collect those things, preserve them, and they're taught to do those in a way that preserves, to the best of their ability, the evidentiary value of those items. Is that fair?
Yes.
And they work along with you as a major crime scene detective. They work along with you and kind of take direction from you as the crime scene detective, what is and what is not important to be looking at, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So this case happened over 5 years ago now. Do you agree with me?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that you're taught in police academy training is how to memorialize or document the things that you do as a police officer as it relates to whatever part of the investigation you have. Is that fair?
Yes.
And as a patrol officer, although you may not be in charge of the scene, anything you do, for instance, the going door to door to the houses and trying to get statements from people, that would be something that you would document in a report. Is that fair?
Yes.
Now we have incident reports, which are pretty the most basic of a police report. I arrived at scene. These are the potential witnesses, and this might be a very short summary of what the alleged crime is. Is that fair?
Yes.
And then there is something called an action taken. Is that fair?
Yes.
Now that's a little more of a detailed report in which you lay out the steps you took in the approximate times you took them while you were on scene. Is that fair?
Yes.
And then we have something called a report of investigation. And that is what normally the detectives that are in the major crime unit put together about what they do and what other people have done during the course of the entire investigation. Is that fair?
Yes.
And that would be very detailed in a major crime scene. Is that fair?
Yes.
The action taken is also supposed to be as detailed as you can make it. Is that fair?
Yes.
And the importance of doing that, whether it's an action taken or a report of investigation, would be to memorialize exactly what took place at the crime scene when the police arrived. Fair?
Yes.
What they did during the course of their investigation. Fair?
Yes.
What witnesses they actually talked to. Fair?
Yes.
At least a summary in that action taken or report of investigation of what those witnesses told the police on scene. Is that fair?
Yes.
And that's important because you may find yourself sitting on a witness stand like you are right now, over 5 years later, having to tell these folks on this jury what it is you did, correct?
Yes.
And the prosecutor asked you to tell him what it is that Mr. Costa said, correct?
Yes.
You obviously want to get that right, am I right?
Yes.
And I would imagine for Akron police officers that between April of 2016 and August of 2021, you may as an officer be involved in hundreds of crime scenes, correct?
Yes.
And you certainly don't want to confuse one crime scene with another crime scene when you're testifying from that stand, correct?
Correct.
One of the ways we try and avoid that happening is, you would agree, that wouldn't be fair to either side, correct?
Correct.
And it certainly wouldn't be fair to this jury who would be getting information that wasn't accurate. Is that fair?
Yes.
One of the ways that we make sure that doesn't happen is, as a police officer, you're taught to go back and review the report that you put together close in time to when you did it, correct?
Yes.
And that's what you did properly in this case, fair?
Yes.
As it relates to a report of investigation, you are now in the process, the last 8 months anyway, of putting those types of reports together. Is that fair?
Yes.
You would agree the report of investigation is even more detailed than an action taken. Is that fair?
Yes.
And a report of investigation sometimes not only includes what happens on the crime scene, but it should, if the investigation is ongoing, it should document every time a detective continues that investigation in the following days, weeks, months, or even years. Is that fair?
Yes.
So that an attorney such as myself or a prosecutor such as Mr. LaPrenzi can later on look at that report of investigation and understand what led detectives or officers to do certain things, correct?
Yes.
And we also may learn things that the officers did not do by looking at that report of investigation. Fair?
That's fair.
Because if they did them and they had any significance whatsoever to the case, we would find it in the report of investigation, would we not?
Yes.
That's what you're trained to do. Fair?
Yes.
You went to 730 Fultz Avenue, correct?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to look at your report?
If you don't
Sure,
mind.
sure. May I approach you, Honor?
You may.
Officer, I want you to take the time to read that report. It's 1 page in length, correct?
Correct.
Single space, correct?
Correct.
I don't want you to read the report out loud. I want you to read the report, and then I'll ask you a few questions about it, but I'm kind of concentrating on 730 volts, okay?
Okay.
Okay, and you can refer to it anytime you want. The only thing I would ask you to do, if I ask you a question, and I don't have many more anyway, by the way, but if I ask you a question and you're actually getting your answer from the action taken rather than your memory, I just would ask that you indicate that for the record. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. And before I get there, Detective, before I get there, when the prosecutor had asked you where 725 volts was, and you said somewhere down in here, you recall that?
I do.
You certainly, I don't want to assume or speak for you, you certainly weren't trying to intentionally mislead this jury, correct?
Correct.
It's been 5 years, correct?
Correct.
You may not have been back to that street before, correct?
Correct.
Which kind of emphasizes the need for the reports of investigation to be fair and accurate. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Once again, didn't to make you feel like I think you intentionally did that. I didn't, okay? Do you recall where 730 volts was, sir?
I do not.
Okay. I'm gonna mimic the prosecutor. If I told you that 730 volts was here, would that make sense to you?
It would.
Okay. Apply that right, Scott? Sir, do you recall going to 730 volts that night and attempting to talk to whoever was inside?
I do.
All right. Do you recall, sir, that that house was pink at the time?
I don't recall that, no.
Okay. Do you recall, sir, that that house had a video camera on its outside?
I do not recall that, no.
Okay. You talked to somebody in that house, is that fair?
Yes.
And who did you talk to, sir?
And we're going to read it off from here. Brandon McGruder.
Okay. And once, for the record, you didn't have an independent recollection of the gentleman's name. You relied on your report of investigation, your action taken, I should say, to get that information, correct?
Yes.
But because you did that close in time, you're confident that that's the person that was actually in that house that you spoke to, correct?
Yes.
All right, fair enough. Did you, sir, know when you talked to him how many people were in that house at the time, in his house at 730 volts, while he came to the door to speak to you?
No.
So if there were other people in the house, you wouldn't have known that?
I don't recall.
Okay. Did he come to his front door, if you recall?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Detective, congratulations on the promotion. I don't have any further questions for you at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Foreman. Mr. D'Angelo, redirect.
Detective Aber, Mr. Gorman asked you about your conversation, not specifics, but asked you about your encounter with Brandon McGruder at 730 volts. You remember that?
Yes.
Cross-examination, line of questioning and cross-examination. If he had seemed out of breath, would you have noted that in your report?
I believe so, yes.
If he had smelled like charcoal lighter fluid, would you have noted that in your report?
Yes.
If he had smelled like smoke, would you have noted that in your report?
Yes.
I don't have any other questions.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, Detective, you may step down. If you'll replace your mask and you can exit through that door. Thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's a little earlier than I would have liked, but that's it for the day. That's all they have subpoenaed or summoned to appear for testimony. Remember, tomorrow is going to be our half day. We're going to start at 9. We'll be done by 12 or 12:30. I do have a calendar that Mr. Mason just printed off for you to take. I just want to explain a couple things. We have a couple scheduling things we're trying to work around. So instead of doing a half a day next Wednesday, that would be the 8th. Monday, of course, is a holiday, so we're not here. You're going to have a 4-day weekend. So Tuesday, the 7th, we're not coming in. And then Wednesday, the 8th, instead of a half day, we're going to go a whole day, but we're not, I have to say that, but we're not starting until 9:45. So I'm going to ask that you be here about, 9:35, 9:40, and we'll start promptly as soon as everyone's here. That'll be 9:45 on Wednesday and Thursday of next week, which is the 8th and the 9th. And then Friday we'll be back to 9 a.m. to 4:30. And then the following week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we're gonna go full days. And that's because there's a potential that the state then could be done with their case in chief, is what we call it, by that Wednesday afternoon. We're then gonna take Thursday the 16th off, and then if there's any testimony that the defense wishes to present, they'll either do that Wednesday afternoon or Friday, and then we may be done with the evidence portion by then. But the 16th is also designed to accommodate some people's schedule, as well as give the court and counsel the opportunity to work on what are going to be some lengthy jury instructions and a lot of things that we need to work out. So we're going to be working even though we won't be in court. So Ken will have a copy of that you can pick up on your way out. I will remind you of the admonition I've given you at all breaks and at the end of the day. First of all, leave your notes upside down on your chair. We'll collect them. Do not discuss the case amongst yourselves or with anyone else. This includes your family and friends and the media. You must not post or read anything about this case on the internet or any other electronic device, including your cell phone. Any such discussion, if discovered, could result in a mistrial and would severely compromise the party's right to a fair trial. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence, and do not form or express an opinion on this case until it has finally been submitted to you. So we will see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and we will proceed at that time. We're adjourned.